Lines on the air. This morning got a big crew in the house, in our studio. We've got some folks from out in the Loyd Star community and some folks that played on the state championship team in 1980, the last time that Loyd Star won. Of course, just to kind of catch you up to date, the Loyd Star Hornets baseball team playing tomorrow in Trustmark Park for Game 2 of the 2A High School Baseball State Championship 2A. And it's a must-win for the Loyd Star Hornets. We'll have that game on at 1 o'clock tomorrow on the ESPN Radio 92.9 FM. We're looking back and trying to catch up with some of these guys. And, man, Coach Vaughn has pulled it off. Coach Billy Vaughn, the athletics director at Loyd Star, helped me get these guys in here this morning. And we're glad to have Coach Ricky Smith, who was the coach at the time back in 1980 at Loyd Star. Lance Smith was the one that I've heard rumors. These are legends of Loyd Star. Legends of Loyd Star.
Legends.
And Butch Keene, Ronnie Keene are here, and Greg Russell still here to help me with these guys as we talk a little bit about Loyd Star from the past. Coach, Ricky Smith, get you up to that microphone right there real quick. Step up to that microphone. We say good morning to you, sir.
Good morning to you.
Good to see you. Of course, you look back 1980. Does it seem that long ago?
36 years, well, it's passed pretty quick.
Yeah, I would imagine. So, kind of, back in 1980, of course, Loyd Star wasn't a 2A baseball team, but what was it, Class B or Double B? What was
Class B.
Class B. And you guys put together, you had some kids that had a lot of talent, didn't you?
Oh, yes. This group started probably as 8th graders, and we just kind of built, and, you know, they come along well. And very successful.
Very successful. Who were you playing against in the state championship?
We played Hamilton in the final game.
Hamilton. And was it a sweep? Was it a best of 3 series back then?
We swept.
Yeah.
We lost only one game in the playoffs, and that was the very first game of the playoffs. And of course, back then you had to win your division to go on. You had to be number 1, and we played Ronstown first, and we lost that game. And Coach Red and I walking back to the bus, I told him just close the door, and we had a come to Jesus meeting. And we got focused, and from that point on, we didn't lose again.
You know, that's probably the best time to lose it. The beginning of a series. You know, I mean, and I bet the kids woke up. Talking to one of the guys that was on the team, how did it feel to you to lose that first game of that series, though?
Get Lance over here. Pull that microphone a little closer to you there, Lance.
You never want to lose.
Right.
Like you said, if you're going to lose a game, you want the first game.
Yeah.
Kind of, you're able to evaluate what team you're playing. It's what you need to do to become better the next game, hopefully the third game. But I remember that day, what Mr. Coach Smith did tell us was also at our athletic banquet that night that we got beat. We played there that afternoon and drove back home to the athletic banquet that night. So our minds were a little bit somewhere else that first game.
Yeah.
We made up for it the last 2 games, though.
Where was that held at? Was it at a neutral site?
It was home and home the first 2 games, Ronstown the first game, and West Lincoln the second game. We had no home field. And then the third game was played in Columbia on Saturday morning. Well,
Lance, I've heard rumors of how fast you were throwing the ball, throwing some heat and good stuff in that game and that year. Did you start playing pretty early when you were little?
Started when I was 7 years old.
Yeah.
I started in the city leagues here in Brookhaven. I started out pitching at that time and pitched all the way through college.
Yeah. And then you left Loyd Star, and what happened after that?
I signed scholarship at Mississippi College and played 4 years at MC. I graduated there in '84.
Good for you. And behind the plate, catching your pitches, your fastballs and your breaking balls. We got Butch Keene here. Butch was the catcher. Your senior year, you were the catcher, right?
Right.
Yeah. Step up to the microphone.
Yeah.
Talk about some of the pitches that you saw Lance throw in some of those games.
Well, you know, today I think most coaches call their pitches. Back then, we called our own pitches.
Yeah.
You know, and Lance, it was fastball. He had changeup, curveball. I mean, his fastball was 91, and his curveballs were like 86, 87, and I remember playing some of these teams where when his curveball, I would set up on the right-hand corner,
Right.
and his curveball would start breaking at him.
Right.
But it would break right in front of the plate, But yeah, it was. I used to wear a sponge. He was throwing so hard.
That's what I was going to say. The first time you caught him, was it a nervous moment? A little bit.
Oh yeah.
I had to be, you know. I mean, you know, as a young kid, I mean, you're still a young man at that time, and catching 90, 91 mile an hour fastballs, you're thinking, man, is this guy for real? You know.
But we had a connection where a lot of times I didn't even have to give a sign. I knew what he was fixing to throw.
Right.
Because after you catch a guy for so many games, you get used to what he wants to throw.
So y'all had some signals between yourselves?
Oh, yes.
Okay, good deal.
I know, looking back, it seems like a whole different world. 1980, 1985, 1990. You know, we used to sit out in the yard. We'd play till dark, just playing around outside. You don't see kids playing by the street lights anymore. But you guys put a lot of time and effort in playing and practicing together and knowing each other. I mean, it was a Loyd Star small community. You guys grew up around each other, and y'all really knew each other pretty well. You caught your senior year. Leading up to that, there was another catch you had. Was it Jeff Smith?
Jeff Smith was caught when I was a junior. Yes.
Yeah. And Coach, would you say that you had a team that you saw coming up that was gonna have that it factor?
Well, like I say, they always played. You know, I've watched them through Little League and on up. They played Senior League together, and it was just a good group. And you know, all the teams that I had, and you know, I don't mean to talk about any of the rest, but this group gelled together real well. There was a lot of camaraderie there. There was no throwing my helmet and no kicking and screaming. It was everybody picked each other up. If one played, did bad, struck out or something, somebody was in the dugout to pick them up. And like I say, they played well together, and they deserved to win. Yeah. They worked at it, and they deserved it.
Very good. Of course, the Loyd Star playing for a Game 2 in a state championship for a state championship match this week, or title tomorrow. A must-win for the Loyd Star Hornets, and we're looking back to 1980 with these guys this morning. And Ronnie Keene standing over here. We'll get you, Ronnie, stepping up. You were kind of the young guy on the team. You were a freshman in high school when these guys were playing state championship. Eighth grade.
Eighth grader, yeah.
Yeah. Eighth grade, of course, you're not the little guy anymore in the group.
I told him, Ronnie, while you were out there, I'd take you as long as you're on that side of the ball. Ronnie, just a great guy. Ronnie, as a young man looking up to these guys, you know, eighth grade, I mean, I know they were giants for you. I mean, a young man throwing 91 miles an hour, and I know that had to play a part in your growing up. And, you know, with building these new baseball fields, what would you say to those kids that are coming up now, what baseball meant to you as a young man?
I was just glad to hang around these old guys. I'm just glad I didn't have to bat off the rest.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that we were talking about before we came on, Bruce was telling me that some of the things, you know, baseball taught you, kind of looking back at baseball and some of the things that you learned at Loyd Star about writing essays and math, and you thinking, you know, how am I a baseball player? I don't need all this junk. How would you tell kids today that would say that same thing?
Well, you know, I tried college for about one semester, and I basically, Dad said I majored in what they call that rush week, and pulled me out, and I've been in the oil field ever since. You know, and back in high school, it was like, you know, why are they making us write essays? Why are they doing this? Well, I've been a directional driller for 26 years now, and every job that I do is an essay or a term paper after the job, math, you know, and so I tell kids, you know, sports is fun, and it's taught me leadership, it's taught me respect, and, you know, working together with other people, but your schooling is one of the most important parts of being at a school.
Sure.
You know.
I tell my son all the time, I mean, his job right now is school.
Right.
He's only 7 years old. That sounds like very young, but I want him to, you know, excel in understanding that life is not just about fun and games all the time. It is about growing up and becoming a man and a leader. And, you know, with these new fields, Coach or Lance, I know as a young man playing ball, tell us some of the fundamentals that it taught you. I know Butch kind of leaded the leadership, but talk a little bit about what baseball meant to you as a young man.
Well, growing up when I was young, you know, there was nothing to do. There was no cell phones. There was no text message, no social media. So the only thing you had to do was get outside the yard and do something.
Yeah.
You know, and it taught work ethic. I can remember as a kid on a clothesline, which we used to take our clothes out from being washed. I'd put a quilt over the clothesline, take some tape and draw a box for a hitter, and I would have a big old box of balls, and I would throw all day into that blanket.
Right.
The strike zone, practice it. And that taught you in life that, you got to keep working in life. You just can't walk in and become successful.
Right.
You've got to, there's struggles in life. You got to overcome the obstacles that you may face. And,
So you're saying you were your own pitching coach?
no, I have great coaches throughout my years. I really
Can
did.
I jump in right there, Lance?
Yeah.
I know for a fact one of your coaches that worked with you from Little League on is probably one of that had an influence on a lot of young kids. This really ties into what you got
Right.
going on out there, Quinn. And that's the Carl Craig Sr.
Correct.
Man, look, Carl Craig, he coached some good baseball. He did a good job. And I remember I know you played for him maybe in a couple different leagues, didn't you?
They formed Little League.
Yeah.
3 years.
Fully volunteer. You know what I
Absolutely,
mean?
yes.
And people don't understand how hard it is to find coaches. It's harder now too. I mean, some of our leagues that we did this year, we were on the night before getting on the phone and say, listen, we've got 20, 30 kids here. We still don't have enough coaches for them. And you believe the people that would turn us down, you would think, really? But it takes a lot to volunteer. So a big shout out to those guys that do volunteer.
I mean, I think back to when we were growing up, there were a lot of coaches that had no kids playing, that didn't have kids.
Right.
And yet they were out there working with us each and every afternoon or every night, coaching us. Coach Craig, he had no children playing at that time. Coach James Hall,
Felder, what was Felder's?
Felder Reed.
Yeah.
I mean, we had coaches that had no children playing, but yet they took time out of their day to teach us about life and also about baseball.
Coach Ricky Smith, Lance Smith, Butch Keene, Ronnie Keene, all in here from the Loyd Star team, back from 1980, state championship team out at Loyd Star.
And talking about baseball facilities, these guys right here should get a lot of credit for starting something at Loyd Star. When I was part of the transition from Loyd Star being really bad to be that's okay. But when we were playing, and Butch and I were talking about this, Butch and I were talking about when we were playing, the baseball field at Loyd Star had no fence. And there was a big oak tree that was right behind home plate. And literally the branches reached out over home plate. And one of those foul tips that the catcher throws his mask off to get under, forget
Like
that. That was
You dug.
yeah. It'd come back. If it had landed square, it'd come back faster than it went up. So, but now you go out there and, based on the tradition these guys started and
So
if
many other-
there's a better facility, it's hard for me to point it out. Maybe Quinn's the only one got one better right now.
Well, we
But,
all
but
got
these
that.
guys started something that the community really bought into, and Mr. Oddie Smith, his family did a lot to build the field and get it right. And the booster clubs built concession stands and bleachers and fences, and they continue to build batters cages and hitting cages and great locker rooms that look. When you go in the locker room at Loyd Star, you think it might be a major league facility. They got a ping pong table and TVs in there, and I'm like, get out of here! This place is fine.
Coach Ricky Smith, kind of back it up a little bit, if you would. Were you kind of the baseball coach, or were you a teacher coach that got put in that slot, or how did that work back then?
Well, I done my student teaching in 1970 at Loyd Star, and then I was under the tutelage of Coach Wayne Sasser, Coach Jack Case, and James Cochran. So I had fine mentors. But anyway, Coach Sasser wanted to play baseball in '70, so we started playing baseball. We'd been playing some, but anyway, that's how I got started. And then he left a few years later. Then we went through a period, probably 2 or 3 years we didn't play. We started back in '77.
That's right.
77.
When I was a senior when we rebuilt.
Yeah, all right. We started back playing then, and I just inherited the program because nobody else didn't want to fool with baseball much. Back in the days, you only hired a basketball coach and a football coach, and anybody else was basically volunteer.
Right.
But anyway, and we started, and like I say, kids wanted to play, and I loved the game, and we just started from there. But there's some stories about that old field on that hill over there. We had a slough in right field, and it was in play. The ball went in it, you better go get it. But it was quite some tales to tell about that field. Because umpire could not see you when it went over the hill. But like I say, we did all right.
That's funny. That was a secret well kept for you guys.
Hey, I can remember the
Put a
ball.
ball in your back pocket.
Yeah.